my sister is nursing. My sister's mental health nurse. My aunt was nursing, but ironically my mother always wanted to be a nurse. But because her mum died very young, she had to look after her siblings. So I guess through my mother wanting to be a nurse, that inspired me. But my mother's very caring and she looked after people in the community working on home care. So I guess looking at my mother and the dynamics and the relationships that my mother had, looking after the frail elderly members of the community, I guess that kind of inspired me then to go into the nursing profession. But it's been very difficult through the pandemic, especially having a mother who has a daughter, because I work on the front line, but Beck works on the very biggest front line because she's actually working on the ward with patients, whereas I work indirectly from an office managing nurses. So that's been very difficult because I've had the worries as well of not only my daughter working on the front line, but potentially Rebecca could have had COVID as well. So that's been very, very difficult to handle.
And so for me, it was quite an anxious time coming back from my maternity leave, having to leave my young baby at home, knowing that I was coming to work and could potentially bring COVID back to my family, which inevitably I did. Which was obviously my worst fear to do that. But
obviously Rebecca's had to look after patients who couldn't have relatives, so she's become their advocate in lots of respects.
I think the most difficult part of working through the pandemic is patients not having their relatives there, and you're having to take on that role as well as the role of the nurse. That's been quite difficult. If I got any worries or concerns, I can always, I don't know if vent is the right word, but I know there's always somebody there to listen to me. Because my mother is a nurse, that is why I'm a nurse. Growing up, I seen how well respected my mother was in the community and how much of a difference she made in people's lives. And from a very young age, I always said when I grow up, I'm going to be like my mum. Okay, so happy Mother's Day, Mum. And happy Mother's Day to all of my colleagues working in TAF this Mother's Day. And especially to those colleagues who will be working on the wards and won't be able to spend the day with their families.
And happy Mother's Day to all the community nurses and all the nurses working out there in the district today on Mother's Day.